a joy to be invited to speak on behalf of the centre. So thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. Isn't it phenomenal how we can look at this screen and every single one of you, every single one of us is so incredibly unique in every single way, not just in our appearance, but how we sound, in our behaviour, in how we live, you know, our backgrounds, what we have going on in our backgrounds are also incredibly unique. And that difference, the fact that we are so unique, is something that we often don't celebrate enough, I think, in life. We don't celebrate diversity. We don't celebrate the fact that we are all incredibly unique. And just to echo Sharon's reading, really, is we talk a lot in this work about being spiritual. You know, when we introduce ourselves, and on dating websites as well, because I'm now unattached, and so I'm in that world of looking at, you know, how do I kind of promote myself in that arena? And one of the things that comes up is, you know, the question in the box of religiousness. You know, do you follow a religious belief system? And I absolutely don't. I'm not a religious person. But one of the options on those sites and on many other forms that we have to fill in is to declare your spiritual identity. And what is that? Because we are so focused in this world on looking at the physicality, aren't we? We're so focused on looking at how different we appear to each other, and often focus on those very minute things that really separate us in a way that sometimes they are pointed out as being negatives, when actually they should be celebrated in that uniqueness. So in this pursuit of how do I identify myself as a spiritual being, and the poem that, or the reading that Sharon gave was really about the fact that we just have to be ourselves. We just have to celebrate who we really are in our uniqueness. But often within this spiritual arena, we're often told that we should live a spiritual life, you know, and that, in whatever form it takes, it is always very unique to the person that tells you that. So I've met people whose belief that being spiritual is that you are a vegetarian or a vegan, that you have to have your filling removed, you have to pray to a certain direction. You know, I've heard all manner of stories about what being spiritual means. And my take on being spiritual is the fact that we are all physically unique, but on a spiritual vibrational level, we are all the same. We are all connected to a source, a power that is greater than us. And often when we talk about being spiritual, we need to understand that every leaf on the tree that we see has its uniqueness, and yet it is connected to the tree, something bigger than itself. It doesn't question whether the leaf next to it is the right shape or the right color. It accepts that. It accepts that every single leaf upon that tree has its role, has its part to play, and it's accepted without question. I suspect there are people, I'm sure, that claim that they can talk to plants, and I'm not going to dispute that. But if we could hear them speak, I'm sure they wouldn't sit in judgment of each other in the way that we often do. So in many respects, being spiritual, I think, is a term that is often said, but it's never really fully explained. So let me offer you what my perception is right now. And I'm very, very aware that as we all grow and evolve, what we see changes and how we act changes as a result of that. But being spiritual, we have to be very careful that we're not too spiritual that we have no earthly use or value. Because often when we're working within our mediumistic state, when we're working within our intuitive awareness, when we're working in healing, we have to be mindful of the fact that part of the experience of being physical, part of the experience of being on this world, is that there are certain experiences we will go through which are hard, which are painful, whether that be illness, breakups, loss, grief. Part of the human experience is tough. It's really, really tough. And in those moments, it's very likely that we will lose or forget or throw away our spiritual or our religious identity. It's very likely that during those times of breakdown, those times of loss, that we turn away from a thing which ultimately could support us, but we have a loss of faith in it. Because if there was a God, why would they have taken away this or that or the other? You know, we make these conditions on how we believe the spirit should behave. We ask it to conform to our understanding of it. And then when it doesn't, we get pissed, we get angry, and we reject it. So one of the things I think we have to realize in terms of being spiritual is that when we are at our soul level in alignment with our personality, that how we think, how we feel, and how we behave in life is a demonstration of that power greater than us, then we are being spiritual. The fact that you have an awareness that you are a power that is within you, that you are God in a non-religious way, that you are that divine power that is manifest through you in this moment right now. When we can engage with that and engage with that as an experience rather than a concept, then we have a chance to demonstrate spirituality in the world. So having a belief system isn't necessarily spiritual. Having a visit to a church doesn't necessarily make you spiritual. What makes you spiritual is having an understanding that you are God, and that we all are God, and that through that power of love, we are all infinitely connected. And so when we can recognize that we are on this screen so incredibly different, so incredibly unique, and yet each one of us is connected to one another through that beautiful power of God, that beautiful power of love, then we don't see the difference anymore. We don't live from that place of seeing difference anymore. We live from that place of connectedness. And so however I treat you, I treat me. However I behave towards me, I behave that way towards you. And so what shows up in our life when we understand that is either a reflection of you or a reflection of God. What shows up in our life experience, whether it be a painful experience, a loving experience, is a reflection of either you or that power that works through you. And the part of being spiritual that we often struggle with is believing that it's going to make life easy being spiritual. But I absolutely guarantee that when we call in that power, when we call in God, call in love, call in whatever that is that you call that power, it will bring to the surface within you every single thing unlike itself. It will bring to the surface your inadequacies. It will bring to the surface your grief. It will bring to the surface all those times that you were heartbroken and abused. It will bring that to the surface, not to punish, but to give you an opportunity to live beyond the wound, to move out of the trappings of physicality and move into the alignment of the power of who you truly are. And so every single experience in life that we have is designed to take us higher. It's designed to move us into a greater and grander experience of ourselves. And so being authentic, and that's a word that I absolutely prefer rather than being spiritual, because spiritual suggests that you have a choice in that. Authentic means that there is no choice. You are spirit, you are God, you are love. And so when we look at moving into developing, cultivating spirituality, we have to move beyond those aspects of the mind and the way that we think, which limit the power of love within you. And one of the things that we do within religion, with any belief system, we invest in it, we identify with it, it becomes a part of us and we become a part of it. But all of those things that we invest in from an egoic level, they limit our ability for the soul, the spirit, the power within us to be free. We're saying to the spirit within us, you must conform to my understanding of this. And so we have to learn through cultivation, through experience, and through leaning into the discomfort of experience, that it's designed to take us higher. And that's really where our development and unfoldment as a spiritual being comes in, is that we're able to live beyond the wound and be a demonstration to others of that. Because every single one of you here, whether you realize it or not, somebody will have spoken about you on a therapist's couch at some point. Every single one of you, somebody will have had an experience of you in their life that somehow has bothered them. But there will hopefully be many more people whose lives you have touched and who have been elevated by your presence. And I have to say this to you today, that every one of you is enough, just exactly as you are. Every one of you is seen by the other world as being more than enough. There is an equality that the other world look at us through eyes of, that do not see the wrinkles, the lines, the grey, all these things that we see. They see your heart, they see your soul, and they see that you are enough. Our unfoldment is really about learning to find that authenticity within us, that we know that we're enough as well. And that there is nothing that we could ever do or say or be that would make that power of love us any less. And that's the key to development. Forget mediumship. There will be a point in life when we have to move beyond the need for mediumship. We have to move beyond the point where we need that. Because we are spiritual beings that are designed to experience much, much more than just that. And often mediumship, I say this many times, but it's a signpost to the soul. It's a signpost to something greater than you. And so whilst mediumship has a beautiful therapeutic quality, I'm not doubting that for 1 minute, but we have to look beyond that eventually as a spiritual eternal being. And so if the other world who choose to demonstrate their presence through us do so lovingly and do so without condition, they will do that, of course. But at what point do you say, I need to understand more of who I spiritually am? I need to understand who I am on my soul, in my soul, not your identity of Darren or Sharon or whoever your identity is, because that isn't really who you are. The task always in life is to lean into the power of the soul. And through that evolutionary prospect, that evolutionary potential, we have, as we align with that power within us, we have access to many, many more spiritual dimensions than just mediumship. We have access to healing many, many more parts of us than therapy can ever reach. That power that is designed to take us higher can move us beyond all lack, all limits, all fear. And so we are in the world, we've been very disconnected for what feels like forever. And in some respects, we've become connected in different ways, as Sharon said earlier. And what a blessing that has been. But unless we still really hold on to the fact that even if we didn't have Zoom, even if we didn't have the wonderful gift that is the internet and all these wonderful gifts of technology, even if we didn't have that, we still need to accept that we're as connected as we ever were. And if we can really lean into that and really invest in that and seek to explore those parts of yourself which limit your ability to see that connection, that's where development really is. That's where soul growth and progression really is identifying who you truly are. Do not be so spiritual that you have no earthly use. Because when we live from that place, when we live from that power of the soul, that its only task is to express joy in its presence in the world. That's all that your soul really cares about. It's come into the experience to experience life, to express what it needs, to express and evolve. It's our job just to learn to be in harmony with that and live according to the power of the soul that is always designed to take us higher and everybody else whose presence we touch higher as well. And we see that very much in our lives, don't we? For those of you that are working with your mediumship and your mediumistic awareness, what I guarantee you will have found is that the people that you live with, the people that are closest to you, develop a sensitivity because of you. They may not actively be sitting in development or actively looking to develop their own awareness, but even the people that might be quite logical and quite cold and quite emotionless cultivate within them a power. And that's because of your presence that has identified with that power greater than you, has touched within them that power that is yearning to be heard. And so every time we be a demonstration in the world of that loving presence, whether we hear about it or we see it or we don't, people will be taken higher because of you. People will be elevated because of your very presence. And so when I say to you, you are enough, I want you to really, if you can, hear that and feel that. Because whatever the physical body looks like, whatever comes out of our mouths, we can have a choice. If we can choose to lean into that loving power and let it fill our words with love, fill our actions with kindness, then the world will be elevated by our presence. And so the soul that is yearning to be heard is yearning to be heard in a way that benefits mankind. The ego isn't. The ego isn't. The ego is all about finding a cycle, finding a comfort and staying safe. And so when we're truly on the path to spiritual evolution, you will annoy people. Your very presence will annoy certain people. Your very presence will really make people not like you, and that is okay. Take it as a positive that your soul is growing. We have to move on sometimes from certain people because we're not vibrationally aligned. As we evolve, we have to say goodbye to some people, and we have to learn to accept that. In the same way that the leaves on the tree will shed. On the same way that the leaf that has sat on that same tree for 20 years eventually will fall. And we have to learn to accept that as part of evolution, there will be loss, but there will also be phenomenal growth. And ultimately, that's all that matters, is that our soul gets to evolve in the way that it came here to evolve. And if we can be in alignment with that and know that it is on our side and know that it's designed to take us higher, then you can call yourself spiritual and be a demonstration of that in the world. Thank you for listening.